I hope you guys are doing good. How was your night? How is everything? Alright. Well, for today, I will be representing Arida, at least for today. So she'll be back very soon. So, continuing on the ongoing story, which is My is El-Roi, episode 9. Written by Precious Chinwe Obialor-Ukazim. So we'll be continuing from where she stopped. So this is episode 9. Alright, so let's continue. El-Roi Samuel got married to a very beautiful Christian lady whom he met on campus, and they welcomed a set of twin boy and girl within the first year of the marriage. Wow, congratulations to them. Mr. and Mrs. Samuel were so happy to be alive, to hold their grandchildren in their arms. God's manifold blessings were on their life, and it was a wonder to many people because of the great things God was doing through his life. Mr. Samuel died at the age of 89, strong in faith and in active service to God and the kingdom. He never wavered in faith until his last days on earth. He died smiling and encouraging everyone in the house not to give up on their faith in God, no matter what happens. Everybody were comforted knowing that he died at a good old age, and most importantly, that heaven has gained a saint. Mrs. Elizabeth wasn't so moved by the death of her husband because after the death of her son, death lost its effect on her. She mourned her husband quietly without much drama or sorrowing because she had learned to give thanks to God in every situation, whether good or bad, and that has become her lifestyle. El-Roi employed two young ladies to live with her and employed young ladies to live with her and to take good care of her since her husband, who has been her best companion, was no more. That's nice of him. But 2 years later, at the age of 72, Mrs. Elizabeth was in her room preparing for a church program organized for women, and she was meant to be one of the Bible study expositors, but suddenly she began to feel weak and tired in her body. And in less than a minute, she was sweating all over, even though the weather was very calm. What could be happening? She carefully sat down on the bed, trying to understand what was happening to her, but her temperature was normal and she wasn't feeling any headache. So after sitting for a while, she began to feel very sleepy, but she fought the urge because she had to be in church and as early as possible. She roused herself up by force and tied her wrapper and the scarf very well, but just for her to pick up her bag, a slight headache cut across her head, and that feeling of fatigue returned again. The last thing Mrs. Elizabeth remembered was that she saw herself falling backward and landed with her back on the bed. Then everywhere became dark and still. Jesus. Is that how people used to do? Yeah. Meanwhile, the church program had started, but Mrs. Elizabeth was yet to arrive at the church. Where's Mrs. Elizabeth? The officiating priest asked one of the church women while the praise and worship was ongoing. She's not yet in church. She's not in church yet. I believe she's on her way, replied the woman. On her way by this time? Asked the priest. It's unlike her. She's not used to church late coming. Please put a cross to her because after the prayer session, it's going to be her time to take us on the Bible exposition. Call her now. The priest instructed and left, and the woman went out to call as instructed. She called Mrs. Elizabeth's phone several times, but she wasn't picking her calls. The prayer session ended, yet Mrs. Elizabeth was yet to arrive at the church, and more worse was the fact that she wasn't taking her calls. Someone else had to take the Bible exposition that morning. The two young ladies living with her left the house before her and were already in the church for the program. It was after the program the people who were disappointed that it wasn't Mrs. Elizabeth that took the Bible exposition were asking the two young ladies after their mommy. Where is Mommy Elizabeth? Where is Mommy Elizabeth? She's supposed to take the Bible exposition today. Why is she not in church? More than 7 women, including the priest, asked the 2 ladies, but they themselves couldn't give answers to their question until they got home and found the doors open. They knocked at the door but got no response. They could hear her phone ringing inside the room, but she was not taking the calls. They decided to wait for a while to see whether she would come out, but when they didn't hear from her, they entered her room only to find her lying stiff on the bed, fully dressed on a church attire. Hey! Well, the only thing I can say is it takes just a second, like maybe there's another thing before seconds for one to lose his breath and die. So this is how people just go. Look at them, they were waiting for her, not knowing that she's there, dead, or yeah, obviously she's gone. Steve. Well, the only thing we can say right now concerning this is, I don't know, should I say rest in peace or should I say they'll come and pray for her? I don't know, but let's just hope that it might not be what we are thinking. But seeing that she's still right now, the only thing that can come to the head is that she's gone. So we are just going to be expectant till we see in the next episode. Have a beautiful and lovely day. Bye.